Now that you've got your campaigns and ads in place and you know your pixel is working, it's just a matter of leaving them to perform, right? Well, not exactly. This is where you need to start analysing your ads at least once a week so that you can ensure they are performing well and you aren't wasting money on audiences or visuals that don't perform well. This is the very reason why we created our blog and checklist all about Facebook ad benchmarks. And this may even be the reason why you signed up for this course. Well, because we've given you the knowledge and the resource, we now want to show you how to put these into practice. So in today's video, we're going to learn how to use the Facebook ad benchmarks to analyse our ad performance. We're going to understand why it's important to record these results and learn how this can help us create a testing and optimizing plan. And then finally, we're going to end the course on understanding how Google Analytics can help us analyse ad performance. Although this is something you might not necessarily think about, it's actually really helpful. The first rule when analysing your ads is to make sure they've been running for at least 3 days before you look at them. It takes Facebook ads around 3 days to get into the algorithm properly, and by this, we mean for the ads to be approved and start running. So always check the status of your ads before you start analysing them, and that'll be even easier now with the new Ads Manager interface. Another thing you might find helpful is how to set up comparison columns in your Ads Manager. When I'm comparing ads, I have a set way of doing this, but you can do it in however you want to do it. So let me just show you what I do. So when you come into Ads Manager, you're going to want to head over to this column section here. At the moment, I have this Facebook ad performance and value one set up, which just shows me the results of the ads, the add to carts, the costs, and how much they're gonna cost me overall. But if you come down here and go into customize columns, this is where you can literally decide what you want to see. So let's refer back to the Facebook ad checklist. So we can see in this checklist that the main things we're looking for are going to be costs. So we've got cost per mil, which is basically cost per 1,000 impressions, cost per link click, cost per landing page view, cost per action, click-through rate, and frequency. So if we want to analyze our ads to this checklist, we need to create custom columns to reflect this. So now let's go back into Ads Manager and put this together. So first of all, obviously, there are just some set ones on the right here, but if I know that there's something in particular I'm looking for, I will literally just delete all of them out, just because I don't want to confuse myself. The only thing that stays is the name, and that's literally what we want to see. So if we want to find cost per mil, we can just type that in. So actually cost per mil doesn't come up. And I think that's because this one is going to come under cost per 1,000 people reached, as that's what it is about. And then we're going to look at cost per link click. So there we go, CPC as they call it. Cost per landing page view. So this one comes up slightly differently, as you can see the value of it. But if you just hit cost on the right here, that's all you'll need here. Let's see if cost per action comes up. So cost per action isn't there, but if you were looking for an action, for example, it will probably be your cost per result, depending on what you're running in your campaign. And then you'll have, let me just delete this out, click-through rate, see if they've done that. So it looks like they've actually deleted a few of these. Oh, there you go. So it's called link click-through rate, for example, in Ads Manager. So it looks like since doing this checklist, they've renamed a few of them. You obviously have a few down here as well, unique ones or outbound ones, but we just want the normal one here. And then finally, we have frequency, which just shows you how many times your ads are being shown. So if I hit apply on this, I'm now literally only being shown a few results at a time. So what I can do now is, depending on which one I'm going to look at, so let's just say we're looking at remarketing, I'm now going to fill this checklist in with these results. So here is my checklist with the filled in results. Now, I've just put these in roughly, but what you'll do now is you can do it over the course of a month, for example, or you could just do it over a few days. But now what you can do is you can compare your numbers to this number above in green. So for example, if your cost per mil is higher or lower than the average, make sure you circle the 1. So if it's above, circle the green. If it's below, circle the red one. And we can see here that we can do this all the way along, and actually we are doing quite well for all of them. At the moment, there are some obviously we can see that we need to work on, for example, cost per action, but because the ad account in question is a clothing brand, the industry benchmarks are going to be slightly different. So you could change these for those, but we've done these based on rough e-commerce brands. What you can also do at this point is don't be too fixated on trying to meet benchmarks. They are there as a guidance and they show you if there's anything really kind of outstanding here. What I would say from what I can see is that we really need to work on the cost per link click, and we probably need to work on the click-through rate a little bit. And that's just telling me that there's something within the ad that's stopping people from wanting to click, because those two kind of match up there. And then as you add more weeks in, you can actually compare them to each other. So if you see in week 2 that all your results are then better than week 1, you know any changes that you've done are actually in fact better. So this checklist is really a way of showing you how your campaigns are comparing overall to the industry. But if you want to analyze the ad sets or the ads individually, it takes a slightly different approach. And for this, we're going to go back into Ads Manager. So once in Ads Manager, just go into the campaign that you want to have a look at. Now you can do this in kind of 2 ways, and you can look at it compared to the ad sets or the ads themselves. So I'm just going to go back into my Facebook ad performance here. Now in remarketing, my main goal is probably going to be the results. So I want to see which ones are purchasing well. Or for example, if I want to see which ones have the most ROAS, then I can see this here, or the ones that are spending the most. I'm going to go into Voya, which is a brand new clothing store for women's travel fashion. And if I just go into campaigns at the moment, traffic acquisition is kind of where we are mainly. So if I go into the ad sets, we can see there are lots of different audiences we are targeting. Because this is acquisition, the main result we want here is going to be landing page views. So if I hit this button here, up here, then it will order them in terms of which ones are performing best and which ones are performing worst. So at the moment, I can see women interested in high-end fashion is performing really well, and it's performing at quite a low cost. Whereas this bottom one here, women interested in sustainable fashion, doesn't have that many landing page views or link clicks. So therefore, I might want to consider turning this one off if I want to. And then if you go into ads, for example, you can do the same thing. So you can order this in terms of landing page views and see which ones have had the most landing page views overall. And you could also scroll down and get rid of all the ones that don't have any landing page views. And that's another way that you can compare your ads at another level. And you can do it depending on what your goal is, what your costs are, what your purchase value is, and just anything else that you think is going to be important. When you get down to the nitty-gritty of your ads, it becomes really important to record your results. For example, when we're testing different types of copy, I like to use a spreadsheet just to record my results. And I do this first of all by writing what I'm testing and then listing any different ad sets that I'm using and then leaving a gap to write down anything about particular visuals. It's not a great example, but this is the sort of thing that I use when I am trying to record results. So I usually start with the date that I'm recording the result in the left-hand corner. I then put what I'm going to be testing. I then have some tick boxes for when I've implemented these changes. So for example, although I could be analysing the results of the visual variation today, I might have implemented those a week ago. So I'd make sure I tick those here. I then list the different audiences that I'm going to be targeting, and then I can write down any notes that I then record afterwards. Having a good layout like this to record results is also a really easy way of creating a testing and optimizing plan. Each of my campaigns all have a separate sheet so I can clearly see how each ad is performing. I write the data that I'm analysing and use the tick boxes if I've implemented whilst I'm analysing. I filled out the top of this one just to show you an example of how to use it. So for example, for this one, I've decided I'm testing different ad formats for these different audiences. So in my notes, I'm then going to write down which ad format has performed best. As I progress, I always make sure I update the name of my ads to reflect what's seen here. So eventually, when I get down to the caps lock testing, I could see that one of my visuals is then going to be called image, visual 1, long form copy, shop now, no link, no caps lock, for example. And this means from my notes and the ad itself, I can see which one performs best. When you're defining your own testing and optimizing plan, work out a way to record results that makes sense to you. For example, here's another way that you could do this. This recording method means that you could list out your notes easily in an order, which means at a glance you know what works for each audience. And it also means that it could be really helpful for when naming, because you can easily see audience 1, image, which visual variation, long form copy, and then just make sure that the visuals you have reflect this as well, so you can easily see from your recording results and from Ads Manager what the result of each test you've done is. Another tool that can be really helpful for analysing your Facebook ads is Google Analytics. If you recall in lesson 2, we told you to create URL parameters for your ads, and this is why. Google can use these URL parameters to show you how your campaigns are performing. So let's go over and have a look at analytics for a second. So believe it or not, your website can actually affect the performance of your ads. Like, for example, if you have a high page load time, it may stop users from going to your website as they don't want to wait for it to load. And you can see which campaigns have run from your Facebook ads in Google Analytics, and it can show you this data. Therefore, in Google Analytics, we have set up this custom report called Facebook Ad Analysis. And within this report, it will show us the load time, the conversion rate, the bounce rate, and the session duration. Ideally, a page load time should be under 3 seconds, and as you can see at the moment, we are looking at around 2.49, so this means that our campaigns and the pages we're using are performing well. Equally, if we see that a campaign has a high bounce rate, we know that there's something there that could be going wrong here. But let's just show you how we set up our custom reports. So I'm just going to go into edit, for example, here, just to show you how it's set up. So just call it something that you know you're going to remember. And then you're going to want to have average load time, conversion rate, bounce rate, and average session duration in your metrics. In campaigns, you can, in dimensions even, you can put your campaign, and that will then use the URL parameters to track your campaigns. And then you can set other things as well, but you don't really need them. And then you can hit save. A second dimension we also use here, which you can add, is going to be the destination page. So although sometimes this doesn't show the results we want them to, for example, it doesn't really show average page load time. Let me see if I can scroll through and find any. So it doesn't really show the average page load time, but what it can do is show you the bounce rate and also the session duration. And this is just another way that you can make sure that the pages you're using are actually going to the right places and are not having any issues on them as well. The other view we look at is the behavior flow. So we get to this by going to behavior and then behavior flow. And this shows us how people come to our website and what journey they then take through the website. And this flow really gives us a good idea on how many people are going through to a certain page and how many people are dropping off. For example, let's have a look at the what's new traffic here and highlight it. So from doing this, we can see that people coming from the What's New page then go out to these other pages. So actually, this is a jewelry brand, for example. So although we have some people going to all products, lots of people are also going to the individual pages like necklaces, earrings, and rings. So this could give us an idea of a destination page that we could use, or even target people who have been on these pages, as they have gone from one source to another, which shows that they're interacting with the website. One thing we don't do is report both Facebook, Shopify, and Google Analytics results together, and this is because of the tracking-based systems they use. Because Facebook uses users and Google uses cookies, they're all going to have different results, which are all going to have slightly different discrepancies. So it just makes it easier on our end just to stick primarily with Facebook, as it allows us to report consistently over the period of our ads. From this video, you should be able to take the benchmarks checklist to record the results of your overall campaigns. It will give you an idea on how your ads perform on average. Whilst doing this, think about what you'd like to test with your ads and craft a way to record your results. Setting up Google Analytics to report on load time and bounce rate is a really good way of double checking that there aren't any underlying issues on your website. Just remember, there's no shame in pausing your ads until you have a chance to fix an issue. So taking everything you've learned from this course, then all that's left to say is congratulations. You should now have a full and well-structured Facebook ad strategy. We hope this course has given you the boost you need to get your ads running off the ground. If after this course you feel like Facebook ads are too much for you or you don't have the time, there are loads of agencies who can help you, including Blend. With all potential Facebook ad clients, we start by performing an audit on your pixel and your ads so that we can offer recommendations on where best to go next. And all we have to say now is we wish you the best of luck in your Facebook ad journey.